it's me again. This is the part number 2 of my pixel art tutorial, and today we're gonna learn how to animate our pixel art chest. So in the first part we learned how to draw it, and if you missed that part you can always check the description of this video. There is a link there, or just go to my channel to check it out. So in this part we will actually animate it in an easy and quick way, and we will try to recreate this bouncy and smooth effect that you can see in a Clash Royale, for example. So really fun and quick animation. So we're gonna start immediately, and I have my chest here. By the way, in this tutorial I choose to use Photoshop because I realized that probably most of you are familiar with it, and also we will be using this timeline tool, which will allow us to see the animation in action. So actually we can open it straight away and create frame animation. We'll just not create a video timeline, we just create frame animation, just to make sure. Another quick setup we should have here, so I'm using still 32 by 32 pixels canvas, and we should make sure that we are using a pencil here, which we can use for pixel art, so it just draws like, you know, small squares without any blur or things like that. And also make sure to set up your eraser tool to pencil here. You have mode, you have brush, block, but we just choose pencil, and we choose 1 pixel and hardness to 0%. So then we can, you know, draw pixels. Yeah, something doesn't work. Okay, so we can, you know, draw pixels, we can erase pixels. So let's make sure that we set it up in this way. Also, or our like kind of selection tool, let's make sure that we set it up to feather 0 pixels. Alright, so we can start. So this is how this is gonna work. We have, for each frame here, we'll have a layer here. So we make sure that if we modify a layer here, it doesn't affect our frame here. So this is okay. So this is the first state. We have the closed chest, and we have a layer for it. Next thing I'm gonna do is I will actually create the very last frame of it. That's usually how I work. I basically create the keyframes of the animation, and then I create middle steps between them. So let's go ahead and create a new duplicate frame. So we have frame number 2, but we need to create a layer for it as well. So what I'm going to do is actually right click here and choose duplicate layer. We can call it chest number 2, so we know this layer, which has the name chest number 2, is linked to frame number 2, so we don't get confused. A document, we just choose the current document, so it will create it here. Cool. So now what happened is that we have on frame number 1, we should have this layer chest visible, and the other layers should be hidden. So let's go to the frame number 1 and hide layer 2. So now on this frame we just see this image. Same thing we do here. So we hide frame number 1 and we choose layer number 2. So now if we modify this, we will see animation that goes from here to here. So I can really actually quickly show it to you, right? So we just add something here on this layer, and if we play, that's what happens, right? Cool, we have some animation already going on. Let me quickly delete this. So as I said, we need to create the final frame of it, so the chest should be open at this point. So how I'm going to do this, I will actually redraw the top part of it, so we can delete everything a part of the bottom part and the lock itself. So just doing it by, like, you know, selection tool really quickly. So I delete this part. Make sure you're working on this layer on the second frame, by the way. This is really important. So let's delete this, let's delete that. Cool. Now we can actually redraw the top part. Oh, by the way, probably if lock is attached to the top part, let's remove it as well. Yeah, let's remove it like that, and now we can take our pen tool and actually draw something here. So we have these metal parts, we can probably add them on top. So I will just pick with color picker, I will just pick this color. By the way, I'm pressing Alt, just you can pick any color. And you can use B for the basically to select the brush, so we can draw, and E will activate the eraser. So just shortcuts here. Alright, so I'm picking this color and just draw this thing. I remove the shadow here because we don't have the top part anymore. I pick this color. I pick this color, so this is empty now here, and I do the same here. So like that. Cool. So we have the kind of the bottom part free of everything. So now I'm gonna add the top part of the chest, but it should be open at this point. So how in the previous tutorial we will actually draw this with kind of squares, right? So I imagine this would be something like this. I actually want to check the first frame to see how wide it is. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pixels more or less. So probably I should do the same on the other frame. So go to the other frame, to this layer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and draw something like this, right? So now it's kind of open. Maybe this is too wide. No, I need to make it wider. Yeah. It looks really, really small. So we draw something like this. Cool. Maybe even more. Right. So is there like some perspective going on? So we probably want to reduce this distance here, because you know it opens to the back and we really want to reduce the distance. So I select this part and just drag a little bit inside this thing. Cool. So we have that. Nice. Now that you know we have the light from this side, and this should be chunkier because we're actually gonna see the inside of the chest. We will just draw, you know, this chunky part of it here, right? So it seems like it's open. We're gonna do the same thing, like we draw this like bright rectangle somewhere here. So it's the other part of it, right? So it's open. More or less it's okay. We will adjust like some distances and some measures a bit later. And we can take this dark color here and draw another square here. Cool. Okay. That looks kind of nice. So one thing we're missing, actually, probably there is like a metal part here as well. So we just do that. Nice. I still feel this is too much wide, so we need to still reduce it. Okay. Let's try. Let's see how that works. Yeah. That's okay. I would reduce this as well a little bit, maybe by 1 pixel. Cool. Okay, I think that's alright for now. I will add, you know, some color here because obviously that's made of wood and that's the part that we had here, right? So hop, hop, it's open. Nice. And obviously we do have here like a, you know, in real life we would have like a curvature here. We want to create impression that it's empty inside. So we can pick this color and make a little bit, choose like a darker version of it. I'm just going the same color scale but a little bit down. And as shadow comes from here, so we would see this part a bit darker. So we just do that. Something like this. and creates like impression that it's empty inside. Maybe we can do it a little bit more. Cool, that's alright. And now our chest is open. So we had a lock here, so if it actually opened with the lock, we can probably add little like a line here, so it looks like there is a lock actually. So here it is. So here's our chest is open, right? So there is not much else we should do on this one, other than like, you know, maybe we should kind of make it a bit taller, maybe. You know, there's like adjustments that you can check yourself and see what looks the best. I'm still gonna, like, you know, work a little bit on this to make it sure so it looks nice. It was better before. Cool. And just fill the gaps here. Let me see. Hop. Clear this. Yeah. Alright. I think that's okay. I like it. Cool. So as I said, like, we have now this animation. So let me set up like a reasonable duration of it, so we can select both frames, so they both kind of use the same time frame, and we can choose something like 0.05. Let's see if that works. It's a bit too fast still. I mean, we will modify this you know, time at the end as well. So let's do like 0.08. That's fine. Cool. That's okay. So now what we need to do is to create frames in the middle. So, you know, right now it looks like really kind of robotic and nothing like, you know, bouncy or smooth or anything fun. So let's start to create a little bounce at the beginning. So if you take a look at how Clash Royale is doing it, they have a little bounce at the beginning, so some squishing going on, so the object itself deforms itself a little bit, and that will help us to really to create a really cool and nice and bouncy animation. So I'm going to actually duplicate this frame, and I'm going to duplicate this layer. Duplicate layer. So actually I did a big mistake. You can now see it already. That I named the last frame chest number 2, even though this should be the chest number 2, the one I'm creating right now. So let's go ahead, we can fix names a bit later. Chest number 2, that's nice, we have it here, frame number 2, cool. We can actually call it like chest final frame, just so we remember that, cool. And what we're gonna do here is to squish it a little bit and kind of make this bouncy effect. So how are we going to do? It's like, you know, before opening it will basically jump. So let's make sure we go to this layer and hide the layer number 1. So we're just working on this one on the second frame. And I'm just going to take selection tool, bring this top part of it like a little bit down, and make the chest wider, so we can make it actually even more. I would put it down like by 2 pixels, cool. And now we can actually make it wider as well, something like this, and this side as well, cool. Now we just fill the gaps, right? So whatever is missing here, I'm using my color picker tool, and by pressing Alt it picks the color, and if I release it, it just draws pixels. So yeah, let's just do that. So you see, okay, we need to hide the second chest on the first frame, and yeah, sometimes it does this weird thing which hides everything, but you know, make sure that frame number 1, layer number 1, frame number 2, layer number 2, frame number 3, have layer number 3. Okay, so now you see, now it kind of goes down and then it opens, right? So now what we can see, it's something like that. So now it starts to look actually nicer. So what I'm going to do is actually to add another frame, and so we want to squish it even more. So the more you do, the better the effect is, but not too much. Sometimes if you do too many frames, it just, you know, gets too much, and it's really nice sometimes to have like this immediate changes of frames, so it gives some more action and movement to it. But in this case I will do another one. So then again, create another frame. We pick chest number 2, we duplicate it, layer, chest number 3. Okay, cool. So now we can hide number 2. So now, you know, what Photoshop does, it actually shows this layer on all the frames. So let's make sure we select all of them and hide number 3, the one that we just created, and make sure that we activate it just on this frame. So cool. Now it should work. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So let's modify this even more. So I would bring it down by 1 more pixel. Let's do this. Cool. And move them by 1 pixel on the sides as well. Cool. That works. Then again, we need to fill all these gaps. I'm just doing it really quickly. Cool, seems alright. So let's see. Okay, it's even smoother now. So what happens after you actually charge, right? So he kind of like tries to, like, you know, go down to charge and then jump, basically. So it doesn't open immediately. We need to make sure that we have something in the middle. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going back to take this chest, so the original one. So first of all, I add another frame and hide this. And for this particular frame number 4, I will pick chest number 1. So I duplicate it, right? And we call it chest 4. And I put it like on the layer on top of the chest number 3, obviously, and show it here. So now, okay, it doesn't show up in any other frame. And what we're going to do now is actually move it a little bit up. So now it charged and now it jumps, right? So we need to kind of detach it from the ground. You see, up, it goes up. Nice. So we can basically squish it a little bit as well, but this time inside. So let's try to do that. It will create a really nice bouncy effect. Like this. Yeah, like this. Let's see. Okay, it jumps. So now we need to add a couple of frames where it actually kind of in the air, so we don't have to do much there. We can just use this frame and just move the whole object a little bit up and down. So I'm gonna create another frame, obviously same thing. We duplicate the layer, chest number 5. Cool, we hide this one. Make sure to hide chest number 5 on every other frame and just leave it on frame number 5. So yeah, here we go. And we can move it up. By the way, you could actually move this one. So I'm pretty sure if you actually activate, so we hide number 5 and leave chest number 4 on on frame number 5 and just move it, it should move by itself. But I'm just creating another frame here just in case we want to modify the actual object, because if we modify on the frame number 5 the chest number 4, it will modify it for the frame number 4 as well. So let's just keep it like this. So we can see it now in the air. Cool. Nice. It flies and now it opens, right? So we don't want to open it like this immediately. Instead, what we can do is actually open it in the air. So what I'm going to do is to duplicate this frame now, and I'm going to duplicate this chest final frame as we did with the other ones. Duplicate layer, chest number 6, because this is the frame number 6, and I move it above chest number 5. I will hide this one and hide my chest number 6 in all the other frames and show it just in frame number 6. Cool. And now when it opens in the air, I would bring it up by a few pixels. Now it opens there, you see? So, and what we're going to do now is to actually bring the bottom part of the chest a little bit down and leave the top part where it is right now. So it would create a really nice bouncy effect. So let's do that. Let's make sure to bring it to the same level of the... yeah, exactly like this. So this bottom part should be at the same level of the last frame. Cool. And now we actually can just fill the gaps here. Just pick this color, actually this one. Cool. Let's see. Cool. And now what we're going to do is actually create a little bounce for the top part. So it creates a really nice opening animation. So I'm going to take the final frame and create another frame, and gonna create another layer with name chest 7 and put it above chest number 6. And we don't have to do much here, so let's make sure that we hide it in all the frames, the usual stuff, and just show it in frame number 7, hide the final chest. And what I'm going to do simply is, move the top part 1 pixel down. Simple as that. So it will bounce the top part of the chest, you see, like this. I want to make sure that you can see well the animation, so I will really, I will just make the final frame longer than the other ones, so we can put like, 0.2 seconds for it, and the other ones will be the same, like 0.08, and we can see the animation now. I think looks nice. So we can make it actually faster, and this one I will make 1 second just to make sure we can see the animation well. So let's select all the frames, but not the last one, like all the first 7 frames, and let's try 0.05. Okay, I think that looks really nice. And you can always experiment with like bouncing things, squishing them, just try to get some reference from the real world and see how this might look, or better from cartoons actually, because they do exaggerate some proportions, they do exaggerate like with the, bouncing stuff, and when you're doing like pixel art, it's really important to exaggerate a little bit those things, because everything is so small and it's really hard to make it alive. So I hope this really helped you with your animation stuff, and see you for the next tutorials. I will probably start with some more complex stuff. We'll start to create some characters, some running animations, and you know, maybe I can do some tutorials about creating tiles, platformer tiles. You know, you can suggest, by the way, if you want to see something in particular, just write in comments. I will make sure to create some nice tutorials that you need. So yeah, thank you for very much for watching this, and see you next time.